If no, why? Yes, I want answers. Can we implement classes in C programming? We have 26 members, at least 5 answers. Yes. Okay, let me put the question like this. Okay, let me put question like this. So if I want to implement classes in C programming, which concept I need to use? If I want to implement classes in C programming, which concept I need to use? Yes. You
Yes,
want me
sir.
to
We
call?
can have classes in C programs. Sir.
We can construct. How?
Sir, by structure is declared in the objects number of. I mean, having number of objects.
Which one?
So we can have the group of data to form the objects, no, sir, into structures.
Structures. Good. So we got one answer where Pujita is telling we are going to collect group of objects into structures by means of which we can construct the classes in C programming. Any other answers?
Pointers, sir.
Sorry?
Pointers.
Pointers. Okay. So
Maybe some
pointers.
statements where we can declare it in the program.
Sorry?
Some static functions which we can declare it before the program and we can use it as
Static
classes.
functions before the program and we can use. Okay, then. Come on, let the answers come later, whether it is right or wrong. I think all are having some starting problem. Someone there to motivate you at the back, tapping you at the back, saying that, hey, come on, you do it, you do it, you do it, you do it. Right? Don't expect that will always work out. You need to motivate yourself. Take your hand, back tap yourself and say, hey, come on, I need to answer. Or if you want me to call by name, I'll call by name one by one. At least to save your friends, you can answer. You know, boys is there in the class. So many boys are there, I could see. Yes. So, see, we cannot implement directly class concept in C programming, but almost similar to class, we can implement the concept of structures in C programming, which will work like classes in object-oriented programming with some limitations. I'm not telling exactly what is there in class we can implement in structures. We can implement a little bit, but theoretically or practically, if you ask, if there is a direct question in your interview, can we implement classes in C programming? Can we implement classes in C programming? You can directly say no, because I cannot implement the concept of classes, like defining class, all those things I cannot do it. But what you can do is, you can make use of a structures. You can implement almost similar to classes. Similar to classes. Right. Now we'll see the basic concept before we come back to the few more doubts I have in C programming to ask you. See, hoping you are all masters in C, I'm asking because I don't know much C programming. That's why. Right. So what is happening here is in C++, most of the times we are going to use C classes. which is almost same as structures in your C programming. That's what as I said now. It's almost same to like your structures in C programming. But what is the problem we are facing? See, when you want to create a library based programming, what is meant by library based programming? You want to create some header files. You want to create some predefined functionalities which other programmers can make use of it. As I said, if you remember, when we spoke about header files, I told you header files is nothing but your programs. Say, for example, if Tina is writing one header file called tina.h, so the tina.h can be used by anybody when they want some features of that particular header file. I can write my own. So, you know, the first task which we have done in C programming when I studied, it is not like this. You need to do case studies that time. Now it is for lab programs, there it is case studies. My madam asked me to asked us in the class to create one small virus. So the virus is something like this. Whenever you open some file, it should pop up window saying that your system got corrupted. You should get a message saying that your system got corrupted. So that is one kind of functionality which we have written and we have embedded in the form of library functions so that everyone who is going to use that system, they are going to get that message. So likewise, in C++, whatever we are doing in the class, we are using same concepts in the structures, but still there are some limitations. There are some limitations which are going to be seen now. So I want all of you to go back 3 to 4 days back or 5 days. If you remember, I am talking about structures. There I talked about date, why we need to go for structures, how to create new data type with the structures. So go back to that example. The same example we are going to take here. Right now, what is going to happen in structure is, see, whatever members I'm going to access in the structure, there is no kind of control on it. There is no kind of control on it. So what does it mean? See, once the members has been defined in the structure, that is your variables has been defined in the structure, it can be accessed through only that structure wherever we are going to use it. Only with the help of structure member. Now, what is going to happen if I want to use the same structure in some other program? If I want to use the same structure in some other program, it's very difficult. See, if it's a very small program, maybe 20 lines, 30 lines, 50 lines, well and good, we can make use of it. Just assume if I have a program of 25,000, 50,000, 1 lakh lines, how many structure members I need to remember, how many times I need to write. So this is not going to be the best practice. This is not going to be the best practice. Though structure is solving our purpose, when we go for the big programs, structure is not going to help us a lot. Then what we need to do? So we require someone who can do that. So, and another problem which we are facing is C does not going to support concepts like encapsulation, data hiding, data abstraction. So in order to overcome all these things in C++, Mr. Bjarne Stroustrup, he has come up with a concept called class. Right? So the classes are going to be one of the solution which we are using in a object-oriented programming. So you can see best example here. What we are doing here. So in C++, we are just writing one structure. We are calling the structure members. So within that, I am writing some function. For that function, some logic. Again, for this function, some logic. Again here. So the length of the code is keep on increasing. So again, if I want to access all these members, I need to take the structure member reference. Now what is going to happen? Every time you are going to be dependent. It is not a good practice. So now what we need to do? We want everything to be independent to each other. Like say, for example, if I'm writing one method or if I'm writing one function, so that function has to carry out its task on its own. And whenever there's some results comes, it has to give it back to the main function. Now, so in this example, one more thing you should understand is whenever we are going to write object-oriented programming, first we are going to write the class. Then comes the main function. So the main function is just going to work as a execution point or execution function The actual logic lies here. Actual logic lies here. Now let us see. Okay, so this is the same example what I am telling. I mean, it's the same discussion what we are doing now. So every time whenever you write the new function, you require a new structure member, access that structure, complete the task. So that means, say for example, if I am using or if I am creating multiple functions in a structure, if I am creating 100 functions in a structure, so I need to have different structure members to access. If I do with single structure member, what is going to happen? Can we create 100 functions and no, use single structure member to access all those functions? I'm just repeating question. See, in a structure, I have created 50 functions. For all the 50 functions, can I use single structure member to access? Yes, it's your C programming, not C++.
Yes, sir, can use.
We can use. But what is the problem we are going to face? Yes is the answer, as Pujita said. Thanks for that. Then what is the problem we are going to face? Come on, guys, you should think. Don't keep phone somewhere and just go and watch TV. Concentrate for the next 1.5 hours. It will be very useful for you. I know most of us will be having very good lunch, nice lunch, because we are staying back at home, not going outside. So we'll be getting some drowsiness, sleep. Please come out of that. Yes. What is the problem we will face?
Sir, maybe only the address will reach, but not the value linked with it.
Address will reach, not the value link. Might not be no, because we can reach the address and value both. Then you're getting what I'm asking, right?
Can you repeat the question, sir, once?
I have a structure. Within the structure, I have structure members, I mean structure variables. We have defined like 10 to 15 functions. So Sejal, please switch off your video. Home tours are not allowed. Okay, you can see here. This is one example which you can say. So there is one structure. I have one function here, two, second function, third function, fourth function. To access all these functions, can I have a single structure member? Can I have a single structure member?
No,
What is
sir.
structure member?
No.
You know, right? So this is called structure member, that D1, D2 we are using, no, to access these functions. That is called structure members. For this structure called distance, we are creating members. Okay, someone is telling no. I think Sejal is having some trouble with her technical issue. Let us try to stop from our side if it is possible. Yeah, please go ahead with your answers. Someone said no, why? Yes, who said no?
Me only, sir, Harshita.
Why? I don't have any option for her. Yes, Harshita, why? Why it is not possible to have a number of structure members?
Sir, by using one structure member, I feel we can't access all those what is specified before, sir. So I said no.
Okay. So actually, yes, we can access with single structure member. That is not a problem. But the actual problem is, let us assume in the same example, let us take same example here. Suppose if I have only one structure member, I'm accessing set feet function. I'm accessing set feet function. At the same time, parallelly, if I want to access get feet function. At the same time, I want to access set inches function. Because see, in real time, you should talk about parallel programming. See, if it is a normal language, I mean, normal lab practice, fine. Having one is fine. But in real time, you cannot expect whether you will be having 50 functions or 100 functions. Then the ambiguity come into the picture. then the confusion will come into the picture. Then again the time complexity, space complexity, so many issues. So to avoid that, we are not going to create a single one. We are going to create multiple structure members. So when you create multiple structure members, again, what is the problem? So who is going to access whom? That is another problem. Who is going to access whom? We cannot control on it, right? So to overcome these problems, we are going for the classes. This is what we are going for the classes in the C++ programming. So here, when you write the structure, all the structure members are going to be private to that, I mean public to that program. So wherever you are creating a structure, so there you can, I just skipped one screen, no. So there you can access all those members as a public members, but until unless if you specify them private, so they are not going to be private in nature. Say for example, see this example now. So I have created a private members. These are all the private members. I created a public here and I started writing this function, and these variables or these functions which we are using, they will become private to this place, right? Suppose tomorrow if you want to access these members outside, we cannot access those members outside because they are private to that particular function. Right? So these are the few problems which we are going to face, especially with respect to access specifiers. So they might be sometime private. We cannot access those members outside, right? So those might be public, so they are not able to access parallelly. So all of these problems are going to face in the structures, especially in the C programming. So to avoid all these things, we are just going for the in C++ classes. See, one more thing you should remember is when I say structure is having problem, it doesn't mean that we are not going to use structure at all. We will use the structures wherever it is necessary. See, now onwards, remember one point. If one concept is not working, it doesn't mean that we are not going to use it. So wherever there is a limitation for that, up to that we are going to use that. In your real time also same thing is going to happen. Say for example, if Harshita joined some company, Harshita joined TCS as a software engineer. So already there is some application which is running on Java, and Harshita found that there is so many errors with respect to that. If we develop same application in Python, it will give much more better results. Will company accept to develop one same application in Python from the scratch? Will they allow you? Yes, someone is telling. You're getting my question. Say there is one application which is developed in Java and you are joining that company as an employee. So will they allow you to do same thing in the scratch? No, as Ashish said, no, because cost is involved, time is involved, resources involved. So same thing here, when we are using one concept, if that concept is having some limitations, you just modify wherever there is a limitation, go for the next concept. So that is what we are doing in C++. As I said, someone asked me a question, I think Mansi or Tina long back. So how to develop the compilers, right? So the compilers, if you want to develop it from the scratch, it is not possible. It is possible, but it will take so much of time. Then what we are doing, we are taking the existing compilers, and if some features are good, we are keeping that features as it is. And on top of it, whatever best we can do, we are doing it. So that is how a program is going to work. That is how a programmer should be. You cannot go and say just like that, hey, do this, I'll complete it. See, and one more suggestion I have for all of you is, I know most of you not written the C programming exam. That is the reason you are not concentrated much to prepare and all. Still, C is very important. I suggest all of you, please take the book called Test Your C Skills. If you want to become master in C programming. So I'm just typing in the chat box also. So these textbooks are available huge in number in our library also, or you can download PDF copies also. Yeah, so this is one of the best textbook which you can take. This is not actually a textbook, it is like a puzzle book. Test Your C Skills by Yashwant Kanitkar. So there are some snippets of the code which you can go through and understand the concept, and you write the answer. Like there might be 4 lines code, 5 lines code, small program. So what will happen is when you keep on practicing this, you will become master in the particular programming. You will become master in that particular programming. So if you really want to learn C programming and become master, take this textbook reference. You can easily learn because you have ample time now. You can take it, right? So to overcome all these things, we are just going for the classes in C++. We are going for the classes in C++. Okay, again, this is the same example we have taken, right? So this is how the class looked like. This is how the class looks like. So same program which we have seen previously, we are taking now as in the form of class. In the form of class. So in the structure, the keyword which we are going to use is struct, but here the keyword is class followed by class name, class followed by class name, class followed by class name. And another important point you should remember for your interview as well as VTU exam is all the members which are written in class are private to that class. All the members which are written in particular class are private to that particular class, right? So that means the members of the class are private by default. The members of the class are private by default, right? Say for example, if I am calling a class called distance, within that if I am defining 2 variables, these are private. That means it will work only within this class. Suppose if you want to make any function public or any members public, you need to mention specifically public. You need to mention specifically public, then these will become public. So you know what is private, what is public, access specifiers, no need to mention a lot here. So you remember one point, it's very clear, the members of the class by default, they are private. Again, I am repeating, the members of the class by default private. The members of the function by default are private or public? Function members. Yes. What about the members of the function, private or public? C programming, again going back to C and coming back here. So the members of the function will be always public, the members of the class always private. Very good. So public, they are all public, right? So already I told you a couple of days back when we started about procedure oriented programming, the default access specifier is public. Again you are forgetting. So how will you attend your interviews at the final years, right? So make a note of book or some mobile phone. Keep writing small points which I am telling, because these are the very simple points, but which will really help you at the end of the course when you go for the placements. Fine. So now we will see one example here, how to write class. So this is how we are going to write the class. So before going to study about the objects and all, let us first little concentrate on class. I want all of you to get clear picture about class, then we'll go for the objects. So let me just open. I think I have copied it already. If not, let me just copy. So this is a program which we are going to use just to show you how the class will work in C programming. So again, I'm just repeating. Please don't install in your laptop. What you call PC and all C++ compiler. No need. There is already online compiler. You can see here, onlinegdb.com, online C++ compiler. There are all the compilers, but you can use C++ here. Right, in your mobile phone also you can access. Don't give all the blame reasons saying that I don't have laptop, I don't have system at home. No, right? So how to define the class? So or first how to write the C++ program? See, this is a header file which we are going to use. and you know what is using namespace std as we discussed. Now I am writing the class. So class followed by class name, class followed by class name, right? So within that I am defining the variables. It is written just for your purpose to understand. So within that, whatever variables or whatever members you call, all of them will be private. All of them will be private. You can observe here. So these members are private. Now, in order to make this function public, I am mentioning specifically public. So there I am calling or writing a function called void get data. So double length, double BRTH, double HGT, length equals to len. So this is common language, common programming we are writing. And then I'm writing one more function called calculate area, where it is find, I mean, you know the formula, length into breadth, and calculate the volume, length, breadth, and height. So that means whenever you are writing a class program, whenever you are using the class, so the members of the class will become private. So if you want to make any of those public, you need to specify public. You need to specify public. So don't worry about the logic. Logic will come back to later. And one more thing you should remember is the flower braces should be individual to each other. Say for example, if I am writing one flower brace for this function, I should close it exactly where I am supposed to. Right? Same thing here. Same thing here. Same thing here. So, and what about this last flower brace? So this last flower brace belongs to class. So I have opened one flower braces here, right? Could you be able to understand? Yes, sorry.
Sir, what is public by default?
Not public by default. See, private by default. See the members, if I am writing here, no?
No, sir, you said no members of a function or something like that.
Yeah, so members of the function are seen not here. When you are writing the procedure oriented programming, whatever members you call, say in your C programming, you are writing int ABC, right? So they are public by default. So that means you no need to specify any access specifier. If you don't specify also, they are public. Got it? Getting what I'm telling? Let me show you one example. Yes. Say for example, if I'm writing a function, I mean program, hash include stdio dot h, right? Then I'm writing the main function, right? So followed by, say for example, int a comma b comma c. Are we specifying any access specifier here?
No, sir.
No. So this default access specifier will be public. This default access specifier will be public. At the same time, whenever you are writing a function called add of int a comma int b. So now within this, if I define something like int x comma y comma z, then these will become private to this function, because these variables are declared within the function. These will be private to this function, whereas these are public to this program, right? So that is what I mean to say. Now is it clear?
Yes, sir, got it.
Yeah. So same time, what I'm talking in C++ programming is, when you create one class, within that whatever members you are calling, they will be private. They will be private. Suppose if you want to make them public, you need to specify a keyword public. Then you can start writing your logic, start writing your program. Right now, after completing the class, so we are here. Okay, sorry, we are here. You have opened one flower braces. You need to close it and put the semicolon. Put the semicolon. So the structure of class is going to be, so class followed by class name, right? So followed by the instructions or statements, whatever you call it. Then close it with semicolon. Close it with semicolon. So that's what we are doing here. So we are just closing with a semicolon. Now we are writing the main function. Now we are writing the main function. So for that class, what is the class name? The class name is room. The class name is room. For this, we need to create one object reference. So what is our object reference I am creating? Room 1. Now, if you observe here, where we studied while studying about structures, how to create new data type using structures. So it is going to work as a user defined data type. It is going to work as a user defined data type. Whether it is integer, float, character, we don't know. I'm just creating one reference for a class called room. Now room has become user defined data type because the class has been created by you. It is not given by the system. You have created the room, class. That's why it will become user defined data type. So room is a class here. For that, I'm creating one object called room1. So whatever functions are there within this class can be accessed with this room1. It can be accessed with this object. How we are going to access? Say for example, I have a function called getData. If I want to call this getData, how I'm going to access? Object name followed by dot getData and pass the parameters with semicolon. Whatever arguments you want, whatever variables you want to pass, you can pass them as a arguments. Then you are going to call this function with the help of this object, right? So this object reference can be used, and whatever output we need to get, so we can get it here. See out area of the room is. So from this we need to calculate the area. So then you are going to get, because here written is already there. So room1 dot calculate area, because room1 is the object. Through object reference only we can access. Room1 dot calculate value. Room1 dot calculate volume. So like this we are going to access each and every class member with the help of object reference. So in order to access the members, we are going to use the dot operator. So with the help of dot operator and the objects, we are accessing the class members. So any doubt in this? Any question? Is it clear? So the main points which we are discussing here, meanwhile, if you have any doubt, put in the chat box. First point we discussed is, if you want to create a class, you need to create like class followed by the class name. And the class should start with the flower braces. Class should end with the closed flower braces with semicolon. So when you want to create an object, you need to call the class name followed by the object in the main function. Class name followed by the object name in the main function. So to access any of the members in the class, whether it is variables, whether it is functions, whatever it is, so we need to use the object reference using dot operator. That is object name dot followed by the function. Object name dot followed by the function. So like this, we are going to use the classes. And coming to the C++ structure of the program. So how the structure of the program is going to be? Class followed by the class instructions, then main functions, object declaration, accessing the objects, accessing the class members using objects. What is the structure of C programming? Yes. What is the structure of C program? Come on, guys.
Header files. Then global declaration.
Very good.
Then sub functions can be placed above or below the main function.
Sub functions or below the main function.
Okay, and then the main function.
Okay, good. Any other answers? Yes, any other answers?
Same, sir. Header file, then main functions, then we can declare our functions variables, then whatever we want to include the data and then return type.
Good. So only one thing they left out, both of them is, so initially there will be a document section. So in C header structure, there will be a document section where we will write what type of program it is, what we are doing in this program, all those things. Then followed by the header section, then followed by your global declaration. Then, before global declaration, there will be a definition section. If you want to do any definition of the functions, like you've seen function prototyping, you can do there. Then comes global declaration, main functions, subprogram section, and closing of the program. Right? See, this is also very important. All of you should remember. At least whatever they said is okay, fine. Up to that mark, if you remember also, it's more than enough. Right? So header section, global declaration, followed by the main function, followed by the subfunctions, right? Followed by the subfunctions, then followed by the closure of your program. So whereas coming to C++, there will be a little difference. Document section is there. As usual, we need to write anywhere. There will be header file section or header file declaration section. Global declaration also you can do same thing. After that, instead of main function, we are going to do the class definition. First, we'll define the class. Then comes your main function, followed by the user defined section, followed by the user defined function. Again, I am repeating: documentation section, header file declaration section, then global declaration, global variable declaration, comes class, after class main functions, then user defined functions. So this is a C++. So in C, what is happening? We will write the main function, then followed by the sub functionalities. But here, before writing the main function, we are declaring the class. So that's what it's going to be. Now let us come back to this program. So can any one of you tell me what is the answer of this program? Can we guess or can we try? What would be the answer? So these are the values: 42.5, 30.8, 19.2. Now we need to calculate the area and value. What is the output? Yes. Any answer? Someone sent. I'll just check. No. Any answer? Take your calculator in the mobile itself and you can calculate. Or if you are on laptop, it's much more easy.
Sir, area is 1309 and volume is 25,132.8.
Okay, I also really don't know. Let us execute and check. So it's just compiling now. Yes, very good. 1309, 25,132.8. Right? So now actually tracing of the program, how it will start is, so it will come here in the main function. So then it will check for the object and it will first actually the class function will execute. No, so it will come here, it will go here and it will check for all the available functionalities, that is variables, functions, any if loop, while loop, all those things. So once come here, it will check for the object reference. So the actual execution starts from main only. So we'll start with the object reference. So when it finds the get data function, it will go here and check for the get data function. Then whenever it get calculate area, it will go here and calculate it. Whenever it got calculate volume, it will go and calculate it here, and then it will print the required result. So like this, every C program we can write one class before defining the main function. Before defining the main function, we are going to write the class, right? So any doubt with respect to class, with respect to the characteristics of class, how to write the class, how to write the members? So C++ is almost similar to your C programming, only the functionality will change. Any doubt? Please ask. I'll just pause for a minute. Any doubt is there, you can put in the chat box or you can unmute and ask. I'll be here. Yes, Tina.
No doubt, sir, but just a general thing that if I'm not wrong, we are not into a team called OOC, right? We get it as a chat externally, sir.
Is it so?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'll add all of it. No problem.
Yes.
Is it clear to everyone how to create class and how to define the members in the class? Because see, now we have ample time. We are studying all the basics slowly. Once we get into Java, once you get into labs and all, we won't have that much time. We need to go a little fast. Okay. Good. Someone responded yes, sir. Ashish. Okay. Great. So we'll just, this class also I'm going to continue. We'll take 2 minutes break. If you want to drink water, go and drink the water. Now it is 3:11 exactly. By 3:15, I will start. All right, so let us start the session. So let me just share the screen again. Fine. So now we have seen classes. Now we will see how to create an object, right? So here, as we have seen in the previous example, so we're just going to create a class, or we're going to create a structure. We're going to use that structure members or classes within the program. Now, if you see this example, this is little different example compared to the previous one. In the previous one, we have just created one class and we then started using the object reference. So here what I'm doing here is I'm creating a structure where I'm calling the different members of the structure. Then I'm creating a class where I'm taking different values. I mean, now what I'm going to do, I'm calling a main member. So within this, I want to access these members actually. I want to access these members. So where I'm creating object now? Where I'm creating object here? Any idea? Where I'm creating object? Or we created any object reference here? Yes. Or we created any object here?
Oh, ABC are objects, right, sir?
So how?
As their variables.
So very good. So whenever we don't have any object externally created, so the members of the function or members of the class will become objects. Members of the class will become objects. So now can any one of you tell me what would be the output of this program? What would be the output of this program?
ABC, sir.
ABC. How come?
7 and 7.
7 and 7. Okay. 7 and 7. Think once again.
1 and 4.
1 and
1 and 4.
1 and 4.
Okay, sorry, sir. No.
Think. Yeah. Think once again. Any other answers? Who said 7 and 7? You came nearby. Still you can check.
Is it 9 and 9?
Yes. So the answer is 9 and 9. Just hold for a minute. Hello, sir. Sir, ಹೇಳಿ sir. ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅದೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. I'm sorry, some important calls I took. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, let me just go back here once. So the output is 9 and 9. Who said 9 and 9?
Yes, Sami, sir.
How?
Sir,
Yes.
cards 1 byte, so 1. B and C intent float are 4 and 4. So the C out is size of A and B. So it
Yes.
becomes 4 plus 1.
Good. So it's going to take the size of that particular character or the particular variable. So that's why it is printing 9 and 9, right? So hope everyone understood this. There is no, I mean, what do you say, inbuilt logic, something like that. Just the size of the variable we have taken, so it is printing it. So size of, you know the function already. Size of is a keyword as well as a function which we are using here. Now we'll see one more concept. Scope resolution operator. So what is this scope resolution operator? See, most of the times what will happen is whenever we are going to write the C++ programs as a library programmer, see, library program is nothing but if you want to create your own header files, all those things, not our SPC library programmer. So if you want to create your own header files, then we will call you as a library programmer. Those who will create libraries, APIs, operating systems, so they are called as library programmers. So when you want to create this, what is the common thing we will do is we won't use the function logic in the class itself. We want to create the function in the class, but the logic should be written outside the class. Logic should be written outside the class. Then when you want to have the functions outside your class, when you want to have the logic of the function outside your class, then we are going to use the scope resolution operator. Then we are going to use the scope resolution operator. Let me put very simple terminology because very important for your interview. What is meant by scope resolution operator? What is meant by scope resolution operator? This is the question. When we want to write body of the function, when we want to write body of the function outside the class, when we want to write body of the function outside the class, then we are going to use the scope resolution operator. Then we are going to use the scope resolution operator. That means the definition of the function will be there in the class. The definition of the function will be there in the class, but the body of the function will be outside the class. So in order to access that function which is outside the class, we are going to use the scope resolution operator. Now you can see here an example. I'm creating a class called distance. So these are the private members of the class. I'm calling some public functions: set feet, set inches, get inches. And for all these functions, there is no body, only prototyping is there. That is, definition is there. So the body of this will be written outside. When we write outside, say for example, set feet, I'm writing set feet here, the definition of the body of the function. In order to say compiler, this function belongs to this class. In order to say this compiler, this function belongs to this particular class, we are going to use the help of scope resolution operator. These 4 dots you are seeing, no, that is your scope resolution operator. That 4 dots, that is called scope resolution operator. So class name followed by the scope resolution operator followed by the function name. Why we have taken void here? Because it is void here. Int, void, float. So what does it mean? Whenever you want to use the body of the function outside the class, then we are going to use the scope resolution operator. So the scope resolution operator will be represented like this. And before that, we are going to write the class name. So this is how scope resolution operator is going to work. So that is the same point what I have told you. It is mentioned here. So again, I am repeating the definition for all others purpose. So scope resolution operator is nothing but when you want to write the body of the function, outside the class, and only definition will be there inside the class. Then it is called as, then we will use the scope resolution operator, right? Hope it is very clear to everyone. Now we will see how we are going to make use of the scope resolution operator in order to create one header file, in order to create one library, how we are going to use it. So now what we are going to use, same example I'm taking, we are creating a class, we are defining the functions. That is the first step. Place the class definition in a header file. So we are going to create a header file called distance.h. So within that I'm writing one class. So only prototype is here, sorry, definition is here, not the body. In the second step, we are going to write the body of the function. We are going to write the body of the each and every function with the help of scope resolution operators, with the help of scope resolution operators. Then in the third step, what we are going to do? So provide the header file and the library in whatever media to other programs you want to use. So now it is done. This is together is a one header file. So we have defined the class, we have defined the functionalities with the help of scope resolution operator. So now you have done with the creating one header file. So this you can give it to anybody if they want to use it. Now we will see how it will be used, how this can be used. Now what they need to do, they need to include the header file called distance.h, because our header file name is distance.h. We are creating header file as distance.h. We are going to make use of the distance.h in the next program. And they can declare the variables. They can declare the variables and they can call the functions wherever they want. See this set feet, get feet, set inches, all these functions they are not defining again because it's already there in the header file. So directly they can pass the values. Directly they can pass the values. You can see here like iostream.h, we are also including distance.h. Whatever functions are there in this distance.h, we are using them directly. It is something like your math.h. When you are using square root of n, we are not defining square root function. It is already there in math.h, we are using it. So there you studied how to use it. Now you are studying how to create it. That is also very important. So if you want to create it, you can create a library function like this or a header file like this. Then you can make use of that header file in your program. You can write the coding, you can embed the function calls, all those things. You can execute the program, you will get the required output. You will get the required output, right? Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone what I am talking here? Any doubt or any question you can ask? See, in C programming and all, you have used so many header files like stdio.h, maths.h, conio.h, right, etc., etc., etc. So how to create those things? This is how we are going to create. This is how we are going to create. You write your own logic, keep it in a header file. So whenever you want to make use of it, or whenever someone want to make use of it, let them call their header file, that header file, and they can start using it. They can start using it. Right. Yes, Ashish.
Is the class name the header file name also?
It's up. See, what will happen is, as I said a couple of days back, it's always preferable, suggestible to give class name and program name same. Same with the header file also. It is always suggestible to give class name and header file name same, so that there won't be any confusion for the compiler when it want to access. So any other questions or doubts? I'm just going there with the example, you can see that, and then ask any doubts are there, you can ask. So the dist main.cpp is the program name. Distance.h is the header file name. So any doubt? Any question or any doubt? Or is it clear to everyone? Getting sleep? Yes. Clear, clear. At least if you respond something, it would be good. Like, okay, I can understand how you are understanding something. At least you are awake. First point. Second point, you are understanding something. Later, if you prepare, you can understand much more better. Right? Good. So now let us continue to the next topic. So the next topic which we are going to study here is this pointer. So what is this pointer? What is this pointer? Can any one of you tell me what is this pointer? If you just go through this slide and then tell me. 1 second. I'll just reduce this size. I think it is not fully visible if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So what is this pointer? Next slide also same thing you can see here also. So any idea you got what is this pointer? Come on guys, any answer at least little bit? Okay, someone said, let me check. Point to object, okay.
It's a constant, sir. Like it points to only to the object, nothing else.
Only to the object, nothing else. Any other answers? All right. If something is a Sakina variable whose value is the address of another variable. Oh, good. So pointer definition is telling. Fine. So in C++, whenever we are going to access some data, we are going to use this pointer. So before going to see this pointer, right? So this is the actual definition which is bolded. Like this pointer is always a constant pointer, which points always to an at the object with respect to that particular function which we call. If I'm calling some function, previous example you might have seen. So some ABC dot that function name, right? So that there it is going to point out to that particular object. See what is going before going to see this, let me give you a clear picture. See, whenever we are not accessing the function members or whenever we are not accessing the class members, then C++ compiler will work as a C compiler. It will convert everything into a structure. That's what we are telling here. See this class, if I am not accessing these members, it will convert this one into a structure and it will use the C compiler to access it. Then all the members, all the functions will become like this. So void set feet will become void set feet distance followed by some whatever constant we are, whatever value, reference value we are going to take and the integer, right? So now what is going to happen if you see here in the previous example, I'm passing some value, right, for every function. So that will be taken into the consideration by using the pointer definition or pointer reference. Now what is going to happen? So in order to access these members, we required an object reference. We required an object reference that is called as this pointer. So that this pointer is going to point out to a particular object. It is going to point to a particular object which we are going to use, right? So when you want to access to a particular pointer or particular member of the function, then we are going to use this access operator. So previously how it would looks, so void distance set C feet of index I feet equals to x, but this I feet equals to x need to point to particular object or particular function. That's why we are using this. So same thing here. So when you want to use before int distance get feet, so return I feet. So the return this I feet, that means See, same thing I'm using. I'm not changing anything. Whatever logic is here, I'm using same logic. But only thing is, this keyword I'm using in front of everywhere so that it will point to the particular object or particular value which we are going to use, right? We'll study about this in depth in the next module, how this pointer will be used, where we are going to use it, how it would be useful in the programming perspective, how it is going to be useful. So that is what we are going to see here. So yeah, so program comes, I'll explain you once again. Don't worry about this now, because you will get confused until unless if I talk about friend function. Sorry, friend function, it is little confusing. Once we'll discuss the friend function, then we'll come to this. So this I'm just